JJ Cooper of Baseball America has an incredibly interesting article breaking down the proposed negotiations with the Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball organizations with their professional baseball agreement. They need to come up with a new agreement before the 2021 season. They're in talks now. It's paused with the playoffs, but it will go back. They have not been further apart on the actual details of this proposal since 1990, according to J.J. Cooper. That's because Major League Baseball is seeking the most radical transformation of the minor league baseball system in decades. We are talking about 40 teams cut out of the picture, not officially affiliated with teams. We're talking about creation of a dream league, which takes players that are affected by this elimination of so many affiliates that are not caught up with standards of facilities and maybe just geographically don't make as much sense if you're trying to condense and reduce travel times for minor league baseball teams, both to save money and also not having sort of overnight long bus trips and sort of uncomfortable buses and whatnot. So this is sort of a consolidation attempt by Major League Baseball. Looks like a cost-saving attempt, as they probably would save a lot of money doing this. And the cynics are saying that it's because of the push to raise minor league baseball salary. Now, that's not the only reason. Of course, these agreements pop up, and if Major League Baseball has issues with the travel, has issues with old facilities that are maybe not being updated as often as they'd like, because Major League Baseball and the teams don't actually physically own these affiliates, and they don't own the stadiums. At least most of them don't. And so it doesn't really provide a financial incentive for Major League Baseball itself to invest directly in these facilities, unless, of course, you think they just love taking care of all the players no matter what, which in a perfect world, that would be great if Major League Baseball would foot the bill. They obviously do not. And in this agreement, in previous agreements with Minor League Baseball, they pay payers' salary, and Minor League Baseball is supposed to take care of sort of the rest. And then they give them some taxes for ticket sales and such. And that's kind of how the agreement's been working for a while. But of course, Major League Baseball wants to restructure. They don't need as many teams. They're going to eliminate teams that have bad facilities now, that don't meet their standards of facilities and that geographically don't make sense. So you eliminate 40 teams out of the picture. You're eliminating 1,200 players. You're eliminating salary. You could raise salary on the rest of the players from 1,200 to maybe 1,800. J.J. Cooper talks about in the Baseball America podcast that the rumors are sort of a 50% raise for minor league baseball players. And let's be very clear. Minor league baseball players should have had a raise years ago. These are people that are not even getting a minimum wage where they're working. They're paid for when they're working, not after. There's a class action lawsuit because they aren't paid during spring training and extended spring training. Not all players get big signing bonuses, and many are dedicating years and years to get to the major leagues. And many of them don't make it. Most don't. So the fact that they're getting paid $1,200 a month, they end up taking second and third jobs. This is very commonplace. And so paying more is great. That raise is great. Maybe it should be more at this point. But to sort of combine the two, if that ends up being the case, it's a bit disappointing for Major League Baseball, to be honest with you, because what you're saying is, yeah, we're gonna pay a little more and keep some of our players happy. We're going to have better facilities and maybe cut down on the travel. But you know what that also means? That means having 40 minor league baseball affiliates cut out of the picture in an official capacity, and which could be a real hurt for local economies, for cities and counties that have maybe bought into those minor league affiliates. And of course, the owners of those minor league teams are not going to be happy. This will, again, not affect every team. This will not affect every stadium. But again, 40 affiliates will no longer be part of it if this is agreed upon, which then means that you create a new league, a dream league, which is taking players that are no longer part of the sort of official affiliates, maybe some other independent clubs that exist, and sort of combining into I don't want to say leftovers because it doesn't sound great, but it's players that are going to work to make the major leagues, to try to get the attention of those scouts that are just in a league that's not officially affiliated. Now it's going to be called a dream league. Of course, with less players overall in the official affiliates, then you also don't need to draft as many players. So MLB is proposing to move the draft date back to August instead of June and reduce it from 40 to 20 to 25 rounds. Again, there's a lot of cost saving measures. This seems like they're trying to consolidate and save as much money as possible while promoting stadiums that are maybe newer built or maybe have been improved recently. Again, and then paying players a little more. But again, I think they could pay players more without having it tied to this. And I'm not really saying that it's tied to it in a sort of we'll do this if you do this, because they're already responsible for paying the minor league baseball players. But what they are doing here is putting out really bold transformational requests in their proposal, things that I would assume minor league baseball as an organization is going to be very much opposing. And I think that's where it gets interesting, is they're going to have to come to an agreement. They're paused during the playoffs, but this is a fundamental transformation of the relationship between these two organizations, would reduce the draft. The number of people draft, reduce the affiliates, would push back the draft to August. I mean, again, and create a dream league. So this is a very new organizational structure if this is agreed upon, and I don't think these will be the final terms. It will be very interesting to see how this plays out. But again, I really do recommend you read the piece by J.J. Cooper on Baseball America. Baseball America also has a podcast on this specific issue. I will leave the article in the description. He goes much more into detail. He's been actually reporting this on this agreement for years. He's researched this, and so it's a much more specific rundown. But I wanted to touch on, if you haven't heard, the sort of general overview and the real impact this might have. I mean, my local newspaper covered this to say nearly 40 minor league teams could lose their affiliation. Are any of the sort of Quad City area teams on the list? And there's a few teams, luckily, that have newer facilities or improved their facilities recently that are not going to be on the list. But that's not true everywhere. And these teams are important to local economies. They give baseball fans somewhere to go and root for and take seriously. And if you're a fan of the affiliate, it's even more investing to see top prospects play. And so minor league baseball affiliates can be really crucial to local economies and for baseball fans, period. So it's going to be interesting to see how these negotiations play out. Again, I recommend keeping up with J.J. Cooper and reading that article to learn more.